Hello, welcome to my studio. This is your instructor Linda, and this is video project number 1. This video project is recommended to be done after you have completed video workshop number 3. The project that we're going to be doing in this class is this snowflake here. The tools that are required for this class are your straight cut quilling paper. I'm using the 6mm thick quilling paper today. However, if you only have the 4mm quilling strip, that will work just fine. I prefer the 6mm for the snowflake as it gives the snowflake a little bit more thickness and is nicer when you hang it as an ornament. The other tool that you will require for this class is your glue, your quilling needle, your tweezer, as well as your glue pad and your stylus. Now, while the other tools are not absolutely essential, they are very useful to have, and that is your quilling clamps, your circle template, as well as a pair of scissors, just in case. So let's take a look at the quilling elements that make up this snowflake. So if we take a look at the inner circle of this snowflake, we will notice that it is your standard 5-petal flower foundation exercise. If you are in my advanced class and this project is not at a level of difficulty that makes it fun for you, then simply substitute these teardropped loose coils with a more difficult element, such as the teardrop shaped clefts, vortexes, or Malaysians. So if we take a look at the snowflake in this case, you will notice that everything on here, with the exception of this piece here that serves as the bail, are all loose coils or shaped loose coils. So this project is fairly easy to do. So let's begin by making the center of the snowflake, which is the 5-petal flower foundation exercise. So I'm going to be using the ultrafine needle, and follow along and quill with me. So let's begin with our first coil. So here is coil number 1, and I'm going to be dropping this coil into the 17.5mm circle template. You don't have to use that size, of course. You can use whichever size you want. All of the elements in this exercise, though, are going to be using the same size of ring. So here we go, number 2. Number 2. Number 3. Number 4. Number 5. When I'm quilling with another person, it's a lot more fun because while I'm rolling up these quilling elements, I can also chit-chat and yak. Very hard to hold a conversation with the video camera, though. It doesn't usually reply to you. So here we go. We have 5 loose coils. So I'm going to go in and grab these elements here, and I'm going to turn these open loose coils into close loose coils. Okay, so now normally in the video workshops I am using glue directly from my glue bottle just to save time. However, I'm going to use the glue pad and the stylus like I recommend. And here we are. There's number 1. There's number 2. Oops, one of my coils popped out. If you ever get into this situation where your coil pops out of the template, rather than trying to squeeze it and squish it to put it back into that template, which may crush it, just pull the end of the loop like that and roll your coil so it is smaller than the template, and then simply drop it back in. Let's pick it up and let's glue her. There we go. Number 3. Now if you're not moving as fast as I am, don't fret. Just go at your own pace. And try to get your project as neat and tidy as possible. So results over speed always. Speed will come with time and practice. Okay. Okay, so I have the 5 components for my 5-petal flower. So let's see, what pinching technique should I use? You can use any of them for this project. You can use either free pinch, controlled pinch, or gather and pinch, whichever one you want. I think I'm going to do controlled pinch. There we go. There is our first petal. There's our second. There's our third. And there we go. It's currently late at night where I am. It's nice and quiet and peaceful. My family's in bed and there's no noise and people tromping about. I often quill late at night. There we go. So I have the 5 petals. I'm just going to move that out of the way there for a sec. So let's glue our petals together. So remember, when you're applying the glue in the 5-petal flower, apply it as close to the tip as possible. And keep your coils facing in the same direction so that the curve at the spine is the same way and not backwards. Usually looks a little bit better in a snowflake. Okay. So remember, when you're using your quilling clamp, to put it flush right up against the connection. Push it nice and tight like that so there is a firm and straight connection between the 2 elements. Okay. Let's do the next one. Here is the next part. This should be dry now. Let's connect the next one. Here we go. So now let's do the final connection. We're going to connect the piece of 3 to the 5. What am I doing? I said I'd use the stylus, not the bottle. There we go. One there, one there. And which way? That way. There's the center of the flower. Nice and connected. Okay, good. And so we're done this center part of the snowflake right there. So at this point in time, if you haven't finished your 5-petal flower, you can pause the video and catch up. So the next part we're going to be doing is we're going to be making these little tulip-shaped elements, which is made from 2 loose coils in the shape of an S. So S-shaped loose coils. Let's bring back the circle template here. And we will need 10 of these. And again, I'm going to drop it into the 17.5 millimeter. And again, if your coils don't look exactly like mine, don't fret. Everyone quills a little bit differently. You may have a tighter or looser hand than I do. If you're super fast and you quill faster than me, feel free to do something else while you're waiting or fast forward the video to the next part. There we go. So I'm about halfway through here. I've got 5 open loose coils right now. how are you guys doing? What number of coil are you on? Oops, popped out. So again, I'm going to grab the center of the coil and pull. And put it back in there. I think my 5-petal flower center should be completely dry by now. I'll take the clamps off of it in a minute. And last one. There we go. Okay, so now let's turn these open loose coils to closed loose coils. Is my glue dried here? Okay, I'm going to stop here to take the clamps off of my center. Here we go, 5-petal flower, nicely aligned in the center. And carry on. Now if you are using the ultrafine point needle and the stylus at the same time, do be careful that you don't accidentally grab your quilling needle and use it as a stylus. You'll mess it up. I've never actually done it personally myself, but some of my students have told me that they have. So if the glue is dry, simply start a new one. And the nice thing about these silicone coated glue pads is the glue doesn't really stick to them. So you can simply wait for the glue to dry and then you can just pop it off and reuse it again. Right. There we go. Now, your stylus will be clogged with glue after using for a while. Just simply pop off the excess glue. So if you leave too much glue at the end of your stylus, then you can end up with blobs of glue in your project. It's very hard to spread when the tip of your stylus is covered. So do remember that more glue is not always better, and less is more in a lot of cases with quilling. So here we go. So this total snowflake will have 20 loose coils of some shape or form and 1 tight coil. So we've just finished 5 in the 5-petal flower, and we're doing another 10 to make these tulip-shaped quilling elements. Just an offhanded comment just to make conversation in this quiet video. project. I've noticed in general in my classes, the younger children, you know, the 8-year-olds to the 14-year-olds, always seem to be a lot more fearless when it comes to quilling and making mistakes. And they just zoom through their project like Speedy Gonzales. The unfortunate thing about that is some of them prioritize speed over precision. And there you go. But they do finish their projects very quickly. Okay, here we go. So I've got 10 closed loose coils now. So if you have not made 10 closed loose coils, then pause the video and catch up before we start pinching them. So what we're doing with these 10 loose coils is we're making these tulip shaped elements here. So if you recall from the video workshop number 3, that the S shape starts off as a marquee. So pinch at both ends and then grab both ends and twist. So you've got your S shape. Let's do it again. So you'll notice in all of these that I'm doing a free pinch. Over time you'll develop preferences and habits. But try everything. See which techniques you like the best. So I've done controlled pinch today, and I've done free pinch. And go. Okay, so once you've got all these S-shaped quilling elements, what you want to do is you want to glue them together in pairs, with one S going this way and the other S going the opposite direction, so a backward S. And we're going to be gluing it right here at the tip and at the belly. So let's add our glue here. Pretty important when you're applying the glue, you want to apply it on the part of the belly that will have contact with the other element. If you're gluing in a spot where the elements don't touch, i.e. you miss your connection point, you're not going to have a tulip that will stay together. So here is our first one. I'm going to apply more glue. And on the belly, and looks like I glued that on the wrong side of the element there. Should be there and there. So I don't know if you saw what I did there, is I almost glued the elements in the backwards orientation. So rather than gluing it so that they make the tulip, I had almost glued it so it made the V shape. So you don't want that. You want the tulip shaped. As you're making these elements, putting them down to dry, by the time you finish all of them, you should be able to, go back to the first one and have it be dry. Go. If your glue starts to blob and it's not applying straight, then just make another glue patch to use. There. So if you're in my intermediate or my advanced class, you can, rather than eyeballing the alignment, you can use the compass paper to do an exact alignment. I'm not going to do that for this class, I'm just going to eyeball it. Okay, so let's attach these tulips here to the 5-petal flower, and the tulip goes with the point or the base of the tulip facing into each of the individual spaces between two corresponding petals. Okay, so here we go. So you can either apply the glue onto the 5-petal flower itself, or you can apply the glue onto the tulip-shaped element. Doesn't really matter. Okay, so when you're aligning, in order to get a symmetrical and aligned snowflake, you want to imagine a straight line going in between the petals and up through the center of this tulip-shaped element. So you want to apply it so that it is on the same imaginary line, so this way rather than this way. So you don't want to distort your snowflake, so you want to apply it straight like that. So this time I'm going to apply it onto the element rather than the 5-petal flower. And here we go. Looks like I put the glue too high, it didn't meet the contact point, so let's go a little lower. Go. So again, make sure that your element is aligned in one straight imaginary plane. Otherwise, you'll end up with a crooked snowflake. Although I suppose crooked snowflakes have their charm. Okay, so there we go. Okay, so we're a good chunk of the way through our project now. Okay, so the only thing left on the actual snowflake itself are these crescent moon shaped elements that we nestle between the tulips. So we will need 5 loose coils for that. Let's bring back our circle template. If you've fallen behind, go ahead and pause the video and catch up. Oops, look at this. I grabbed 2 strips of paper on that one. See, even someone who's been quilling for 30 years can make mistakes. If your quilling element doesn't turn out satisfactory and it's a little bit lopsided or uneven or otherwise bugging you, you can simply toss it to the side and grab another piece and try again. Usually when I quill, I have by the side of my foot a quilling element bucket. So whenever I make a quilling element that is the wrong size or shape, or if there's something wrong with it for that particular project, I throw it into my collection of quilling elements in my quilling bucket. And then in the future, when I need a quilling element, or when I feel like quilling but I don't feel like making elements and I just want to assemble, then I dump out my bucket onto the table and I go, okay, what elements do I have and what can I make with it? Go to There's a nice breeze coming from the patio door. I always have trouble with the heat during summertime. Makes it hard to sleep. Great excuse for staying up late to do quilling, I think. Okay, so I've got 5 there. Okay, here we go. We are done with this for now. Okay, so we are going to be making this crescent moon quilling element, and that is done using a round cylindrical object. I'm going to use this quilling needle. If you happen to have the stylus kit, you can use the number 8 stylus. It's an 8mm stylus, but I'm just going to use the end of my quilling needle. So we do need to make a fairly exaggerated crescent. So when we are putting this onto the quilling needle to make the element, you want to push down fairly far onto the element, because you want to wrap it around the needle so that it goes about 2/3 of the way. We need a fairly exaggerated crescent. If the crescent is too flat and doesn't have enough of a toe to it, like this, then it doesn't fit nicely into this element. It just kind of is flat looking. So, am I happy with that? I might be happy with that. Let's test it and see what it looks like. So we're going to drop it above the belly of this quilling element there. Am I happy with that? No, not really. Let's toss that to the side. Let's make another one. I have a lot of perfectionists in my class. Ones that make the quilling elements over and over and over again till they deem it's perfect. Great for results, but it takes a very long time to do a project when you're that particular. But I suppose if you want to sell your work, you kind of have to. You don't want to give someone a project that you just kind of slapped together haphazardly. Okay, there we go. So let's try this again. This time I'm going to push harder so that the element is flatter. And I'm going to wrap so it goes further around my needle than before. There we go. There's the crescent-shaped element. So let's try this now. There we go. That's better. This one's got more of a gap. Yeah. Move the element. That. Okay. All right. So once you're happy with that, then you can glue it in. So you want to put the glue in at the two tips of the crescents here. Okay. So let's tuck this in. Go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. You can move the center of the loop a little bit if it becomes tilted this side. It was tilted to the side because when I wrapped it around the needle, I didn't center the coil first. Something to keep in mind when you're doing crescents. Let's try this again. More conscious on this one of keeping the coil in the center of the project while I was wrapping it around this post. So. Glue on the tips there. You can also keep a paper towel or a cloth on the side that you use to clean the excess glue off your stylus. I get lazy a lot of the times and I just pull it off with my fingers. Because when you do that, you do risk getting glue all over your project, so keep that in mind. So I'm going to go to this one. So you're noticing here that I am putting in these crescent-shaped quilling elements exactly like you would a tire. You go from one side, opposite side, opposite side. And the reason you want to do that is so that you don't end up with your quilling project tilted to one side. It's same philosophy when you're changing a tire. You don't go in a circle because then the last bolt may not close properly. Okay, so center the coil, push and curl. This quilling needle here, the base is a little bit thicker than I would like to form this quilling element. So if you have the 8mm stylus, then hooray, it's a lot easier. Okay. Right. There we go. My crescents are improving as I'm going along here. Quite a bit of pressure on the quilling element on the crescent part. So if you apply the glue across a larger surface, there's more contact and the element is less likely to spring out of its place. There we go. Right. Last piece. And then we can make the tight coil, which will be used as the bail, and then we're done this project. Squeeze, squeeze. Spot. Okay, so here is the snowflake. So at this point, if you just want the snowflake, you can leave it as is. If you want to be able to hang the snowflake, then you need one more piece here. That's the tight coil. And the tight coil acts as the bail, so you can put a string or a hanging necklace bail on it, and you can use it as an ornament. So, but for that, you want to use the standard size needle, because unlike the other elements where you want a smaller hole, in this particular one you want the bigger hole, because you have to be able to put a pin or a piece of string through it. So. Okay, so I would generally put the bail between the two lobes here of one of the tulips. You can turn your snowflake to see which orientation you think is the most even and symmetrical, and put the bail there. Okay, so I'm going to put my bail here. And like always be conscious of where the end and the glue point is, and make sure that you turn your project so that the glue is hidden whenever possible. Okay, so if you like your snowflake just as is, then you can keep it that way. Here I've got a fairly decent connection on the center. They more or less meet at the point. But say if you've made this and your points don't quite go together evenly and it's a little bit lopsided, no problem. We will add a little decor to the center, and that would hide any unevenness in the center. So what color should I use here? I'm going to use blue. In this one I used a snowflake shaped sticker decal. There we go. And here is your completed project on the snowflake. Okay, so if you made one of these snowflakes, I would love to see pictures. And see you in the next class. Thank you for joining me.